Senate approves medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper 2025 to 2027. House of Representatives urges federal government to within 72 hours unfreeze accounts of National Social Investment Programs Agency. Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria confirms operations at Port Harcourt refinery.
We can confirm authoritatively that the Port Harcourt refinery is actually working.
Hello and welcome. This is the News Desk at 3 on NTA News24. We are live in Abuja. I am Olajide Bello. Members of the National Council on Privatization must strive towards maximizing value from the nation's core national assets for the benefit of Nigerians. Vice President Kashim Shettima gave the charge during a fourth meeting of the National Council on Privatization at the Presidential Villa. State House correspondent Abdurrahman Jibrila reports.
This is the fourth National Council on Privatization meeting under the Tinubu presidency, and Vice President Kashim Shettima, who is chairing the council, reminded members of the nation's core national assets, which are critical to the economic agenda of the Tinubu administration. He charged members of the council to play active role in unlocking national prosperity, ranging from very important post-privatization matters to critical sector reform issues towards the attainment of national aspirations.
On this note, I encourage members of the Council to contribute strongly to our discussions. Posterity will judge us kindly if we make efforts to be fair to the Nigerian people. Our people need our leadership. This Council is a very, very important council.
The council also received presentation from the Bureau of Public Enterprises, which sought the approval of the council for the proposed 2025 work plan, prioritizing revenue-generating projects and strengthening of concession management capacity, among others. Council also received update on the restructured Kano, Kaduna, Benin, and Ibadan electricity distribution companies, as well as the Nigeria Electricity Regulatory Commission orders on the transfer of regulatory oversight of electricity markets in Edo, Enugu, Ekiti, Imo, Kogi, Oyo, and Ondo states. Other reports at the meeting include operations at the Zungeru Hydro Power Plant, Kayinji and Jeba Hydroelectric Power Plants, and the proposal to relocate 4 turbines from Afam and Ugeli power plant, all in a bid to increase power supply to the national grid. From the State House, Abdurrahman Jibrila, NTA News.
Until the National Assembly, Senate has approved the Medium-Term Expenditure Framework and Fiscal Strategy Paper 2025 to 2027 as submitted by the federal government for implementation. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports that the approved projections include 47.9 trillion naira proposed budget for 2025, out of which 16.4 trillion naira is for capital projects, while 14.2 trillion naira goes to recurrent expenditure.
Projections on oil benchmark, daily production quota, gross domestic product and inflation were also approved.
The framework emphasizes economic stability, sustainable growth, and prudent resource management.
The GDP growth rate is expected to be at 44.4% in 2025, which is going to be driven by investments in infrastructure and agriculture. This is a welcome, and telecommunications.
Following observations by some legislators on proposed exchange rates put at 1,400 naira to the dollar, in which they noted prevailing market rate of 1,700 naira, Senate therefore approves that all excess be channeled for debt servicing and development of infrastructure.
The projected exchange rate be approved, subject, however, to review in early 2005, according to monetary and fiscal policies, with a proviso that any overflow be used to service the existing debts in the country.
I want to believe that whatever monies we are going to take by way of additional debt should be monies that will be used, debts that will be used for revenue-generating enterprises.
Senate also resolved to investigate reports from the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission and the Nigeria Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative, alleging withholding and non-remittance of funds by the Nigeria National Petroleum Company Limited in trillions of naira, as recommended by the Senate Committee on Finance. Meanwhile, Senate has confirmed the appointment of Lieutenant General Olatubosun Oluede
as the Chief of Army Staff.
Plenary featured adoption of Conference Committee report on bills to establish South-South Development Commission, that of North Central Development Commission, as well as anti-doping bill. In another development, Senate and the National Universities Commission are seeking the establishment of more universities at a public hearing on bill to establish Federal University Okigwe in Imo State.
This university, when established, will drive regional and national development by creating a pipeline of special skilled professionals.
It's a vital step towards addressing the increasing demand for quality higher education in Nigeria.
So 2 million kids every year apply to go to university. The entire system put together can only accommodate between 500 and 700,000.
The move is to ensure access for the more than 1 million applicants left out yearly in admission process. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
The House of Representatives has passed a resolution urging the federal government to, within 72 hours, freeze the accounts of the National Social Investment Programs Agency and lift the suspension on various social investment programs. This followed the adoption of a motion sponsored by Deputy Speaker Benjamin Kalu and 20 other lawmakers. National Assembly correspondent Mitairi Ikpen reports.
Lawmakers at plenary expressed concern that the National Social Investment Programs have been dormant for more than 3 months after their suspension for investigation. They say this is taking a toll on poverty reduction initiatives of the federal government.
Urge the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to mandate the Honorable Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy to ensure that all frozen accounts of the National Social Investment Program Agency are unfrozen within 72 hours to enable the smooth commencement of all the programs of NSEPA.
The spate of boat mishaps in the country recently was another issue of concern.
Urge the federal government through the Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy and the Ministry of Transport to conduct a thorough investigation into the recent boat mishaps in Nigeria, to provide insights and recommendations on improving maritime safety. Urge NIMASA and NIWA to enforce safety regulations.
The House called for a sting operation against kidnapping and other crimes in Plateau State.
Deploy the specialist anti-kidnapping squad to some locations in Kanam local government area, Panshing and Kanke, to immediately begin targeted operations to gather intelligence on the kidnapping and their networks.
Lawmakers sought investigation into plans by the Central Bank of Nigeria to retire 1,000 of its staff.
Raises critical questions about the criteria for selection, transparency, and adherence to due process in line with public service guidelines and labor laws.
Several bills scaled second reading, such as bills seeking amendment of the Compulsory and Free Universal Basic Education Act, as well as establishment of a commission to regulate the National Institute for Artificial Intelligence and Robotic Studies.
Please, order, please.
There was a rowdy session in the House following passing reference by a lawmaker to the tax reform bills, an issue not listed on the day's order paper.
I wouldn't want you to be mentioning things that are not relevant to the subject matter. So please, on your behalf, I've withdrawn that statement you have made. Please.
11 bills passed first reading, including the Nigerian Television Authority Act Amendment Bill 2024. From the National Assembly, Mitaire Ikben, NTA News.
With greater commitment by Nigeria and South Africa towards collaboration and cooperation, President Bola Tinubu believes African continent will become more promising. He said this at the Nigeria-South Africa Business Roundtable in Cape Town. State House correspondent Musbah Danwahab reports that President Cyril Ramaphosa also attended the event.
One more stop on its working visit to South Africa. It's equally a crucial part as the Chief Marketing Officer of Nigeria, in company of his chief host, took his drive to South Africa at a forum created by the business community of the two countries. Nigeria is the biggest trading partner of South Africa in the western part of the continent. But this president is here with new assurances.
I'm here to tell you one thing about Nigeria, and one thing only, that we are going through a very stringent, positive reform. To reform the economy, to serve the people.
With the foundation laid through the economic reforms, President Tinubu is equally assuring that Nigeria remains a huge market for investors.
I am sure you have no better investment destination than Nigeria. You cannot earn a better return on your investment elsewhere except in Nigeria. In terms of stability, security, and rule of law, we are there with you. We assure you that we are open for business.
President Cyril Ramaphosa acknowledges the strategic importance of both nations in their respective regions and the need to diversify trade relations to move beyond oil and gas dependency.
We agreed on the coming into operation of the Joint Ministerial Advisory Council on Industry, Trade and Investment. This will support a conducive environment for improved trade and investment. And in many ways, it will serve as what I would call a clearinghouse to ensure that whatever challenges there may well be in fostering investment and trade between the two countries can be cleared up. As governments, we have committed in our binational commission to create an enabling environment for doing business in our respective countries. That was the running theme during the course of our binational commission.
There are more than 20 agreements generated through the binational commission of the two countries, and they expect the early warning agreement bill to be signed not later than March 2025 to indicate more assurance for their trade relations. From Cape Town, Musbah Danwahab, NTA News.
You're watching the news desk at 3 on NTA News24. More reports when we return. Thanks for being there. The federal government says the avalanche of reactions trailing the proposed reform bills before the National Assembly are not true reflections of the intention and action of government and appealed for understanding and restraint. Abubakar Kwanga reports.
In a statement, the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, says the robust nationwide debate on the new tax reform bills currently before the National Assembly is welcomed and commendable. It is very inspiring to see Nigerians from all walks of life coming out to express their views and opinions on these matters of critical national importance. This is the very essence and meaning of democracy. The minister calls on all commentators and groups to keep up the spirit of informed engagement and to strive to be respectful and understanding at all times, despite the diversity of opinions, and in the spirit of democratic engagement. There should be no room for name-calling or for the injection of unnecessary ethnic and regional slurs into this important national conversation. Similarly, it is important to be aware that there is a lot of misinformation and fake news circulating around the tax bills and the overall reform agenda of the Tinubu administration. The fiscal reforms will not impoverish any state or region of the country, neither will they lead to the scrapping or weakening of any federal agencies. The statement says instead they will bring relief to tens of millions of hardworking Nigerians across the country and empower and position our states and the 774 local governments for sustainable growth and development. The minister says President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is implementing an ambitious fiscal reform agenda that will dissolve more resources to Nigerians' state and local governments and ultimately to the Nigerian people. It is pertinent to state that government has nothing sinister to warrant the suggestion that the process is being rushed in line with the established legislative procedure. The federal government welcomes meaningful input that can address whatever gray areas there may be in the bill. In this vein, President Tinubu has already directed the Federal Ministry of Justice and relevant officials to work on the draft and work closely with the National Assembly to ensure that all genuine concerns have been addressed before the bills are passed. We are indeed witnessing at this moment in the history of Nigeria the most far-reaching, impactful and beneficial set of fiscal reforms that Nigeria has seen in decades. In addition to the 4 tax bills being debated and deliberated upon, there is also the 2023 Supreme Court ruling on financial autonomy for local governments, which will significantly empower the tier of government that is closest to the Nigerian people. In all, these reforms will not only facilitate increased revenue without imposing additional tax burdens on the people, they will also make it possible for citizens to demand enjoying greater accountability in the management of public resources at all levels of government. President Tinubu and the administration will continue to champion policies that will close loopholes and gaps through which Nigeria's valuable public resources have been frittered away for decades. On top of this necessary foundation, the resources being conserved and realized from these reforms will be invested in critical infrastructure, healthcare, education, transportation, digital economy, and so on, and in the social investment that will benefit all Nigerians and ensure that no one is left behind. This is the promise and the reality of the renewed hope agenda of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. In Abuja, Abubakar Akwanga, NTA News.
Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, Pengasen, says it has consulted and can confirm that Port Harcourt Refining Company has commenced operations. President of the union, Festus Asifo, made this clarification while briefing newsmen after its National Executive Council meeting held in Abuja.
We can confirm authoritatively that the Port Harcourt refinery is actually working. Production starting in this refinery will create jobs, but overall will insignificantly bring down the price of PMS, AGO, and DPK today. The answer is a no. The reason is because of the weakness of our currency.
Union members also expressed other socio-economic issues confronting workers and nation, including the proposed tax reform. The union called for the expansion of proposed tax relief exemptions given to workers earning minimum wage and small businesses to accommodate more people and companies. It is, however, impressed that international oil and gas companies divesting from onshore and shallow waters of the Nigeria oil and gas industry did not lead to job losses.
More or less an average oil and gas worker. In fact, you are carrying your community in your shoulders. And for you to still have your job after such divestment, we think that it's not a mean feat.
For stable economy, Pengerson encouraged government to decentralize the power sector to improve efficiency and implement policies that will improve productivity in the country. In response to the growing security concerns in Osara and surrounding areas, the Kogi State government has ordered the immediate closure of Zango Market and banned the roadside parking of trucks in the vicinity. These measures are aimed at preventing a potential security crisis in the area. A statement by Kogi State Commissioner for Information, Kingsley Femi Fawo, says this is following intelligence reports indicating that criminal elements have been using the market as a hideout, often in collaboration with some truck drivers who park along the roadside. The situation poses a significant security threat to the Conference University of Science and Technology, Osara, and broader Osara community. To ensure strict compliance, the state government has given market operators and truck drivers a one-week grace period starting today to adhere to these directives. After this period, enforcement will be fully implemented. Governor Ahmed Usman Ododo in the statement directed the Secretary to the Government of Kogi State to officially communicate this order to all relevant parties, including law enforcement agencies, to ensure seamless compliance. Climate change, poverty, political affiliation and lack of boundary and border security have been identified as some of the causes of the security challenges in Benue State. To address this issue, guests on Good Morning Nigeria says there is need for coordination and concerted efforts to bridge the gap. Alika Panachiarua reports.
Benue State is known as the food basket of the nation, but the constant farmers-herders clashes, kidnapping and killings has affected agricultural production in the state and Nigeria economic growth in general. Guests on Good Morning Nigeria says agroforestry, integrated farming, using indigenous methods, knowledge transfer will help to return greenery and increase food production in the country.
To quell for food insufficiency and solve the food insecurity problem, then we will start smiling and the basket will, by transgression, become very full.
They stressed the need for value addition through food processing so that the value chain will be encompassing.
It is the traditional rulers and opinion leaders at the village level that can help the government.
Identifying some of the security measures the Benue State government is taking to address insecurity, the guest emphasized the importance of community policing and vigilante group in addition to dialogue and negotiation.
We've got to do simple things to achieve good results. And number one, having this cattle settlement committee at hotspots to deal with the issues of herders, farmers clash.
So that is why I talk about neighborhood watch, where the natives are involved, the traditional heads are involved, even though their office is not constitutional. You must bring them back because they are also involved in making sure that there's peace in their communities.
People-centric solution is also being used to tackle insecurity in the states. In Abuja, Alika Opanachi, Arua, NTA News.
The Ministry of Arts, Culture, Tourism and Creative Economy, in its bid to make Nigeria a tourist destination, is sowing early seeds with the inauguration of a committee that will champion the cause of hosting the 68th United Nations Tourism Commission for Africa. Daniel Aderi reports that Nigeria is to host the event in 2025.
Thank you, and say this beautiful committee of the future, is formally inaugurated. Thank you.
Warm handshakes and bright beaming smiles are perks associated with the hospitality and tourism sector. But this is not just another tourism event. Rather, it is the coming together of bright minds in the sector to chart a new course towards what is a foreseeable future, a future hinged on tourism and culture.
Tourism and the creative industry are sort of Siamese twins. In the creative industry, what we hope to do was to project Nigeria globally. And the tourism industry is one that you want to bring Nigeria in. So in working together, we want to leverage on the power that we have in the creative industry to export Nigeria, and now to use that to import the world into Nigeria.
While the world grapples on with rising economic inflation indices, an untapped gold mine in the form of tourism lies in the waiting. These minds, however, believe that, with an intentional drive and sustained collaborations, tourism will be a pile driver for economic rejuvenation.
When you go around this country, there's no community, local government or state that is not well beautified by nature. So we need to showcase all that to the world using technology and innovation.
The 68th UN Tourism Commission for Africa is billed to take place between the 11th to 13th June 2025 and will play host to 51 member nations. In Abuja, Daniel Adiriyi, NTA News.
And that concludes the News Desk at 3 on NTA News 24. Thanks for watching. I am Olajide Bello.